Hello again, folks. White Hair Old Man here again. I got my worm bin set up, and I thought I'd go through a video on how I'm going to make some of their worm food. Like I said in the previous video, I figure because they're smaller mouths that if stuff is sort of maybe liquefied, it might be a little bit easier for them to process and quicker to process, instead of throwing in the large chunks of green leafy material and things like that. I've got this idea from Larry Hall, who's got a channel. He's got quite a few worms, got quite a few videos on really all kinds of subjects. Very good channel. But I am going to show you how I process mine. Very simple. Put everything in the blender. And I've got a big freezer outside because it's probably around 15 degrees outside now. So I'll grind everything up, put it in these little paper Dixie cups, and then of course it'll freeze, and then I'll just store it in my freezer in some bags and then pull it out when I need it. One thing to remember is that since it's going to be frozen, and when it starts to thaw out, you're going to be adding some water to the bins, which it's not going to be a whole lot. The only drawback that I see to this is when I made my first batch, it's sort of a black looking sludge, though it is all organic material. And when you put that in the bin, as opposed to the larger chunks, it's sort of hard to tell if they've eaten everything. Like my red wigglers, I put it in the corner and buried a little bit. But for the European night crawlers, I throw it on top. On the top, it's a little bit easier to see that they've consumed it all. But for the red wigglers, it's a little bit harder. Just sort of have to monitor that. Same thing. No dairy, no meat, anything like that. The closest thing I put in is I'm 20 years military retired. Spent a few years over in Korea, love the food, and been cooking it myself. And anyone who's been over there know they use anchovies for a lot of stuff, and I use the anchovies myself. So some of them are just infused for flavor. So I have the body still left, if you will, and they've been boiled out, so there's really no oils, but I throw that in there too. So that's probably the closest thing I come to. No citrus, though I did see one user say it's not so much the pulp or the fruit itself, it's actually the peels of the citrus. And if you're ever composting, you throw in orange peels in, you'll notice that normally they end up drying up to get pretty hard. It takes a while for them to break down. So I haven't tried any. I don't eat a whole lot of citrus, but it might be something to look into as just another ingredient to the mix. So I'm just going to show you my quick setup and show you how I do it. Okay, again, this isn't rocket science. Just this way I decided to do this or feed my worms. Got my compost. I keep it stored out in the garage in winter. It's got everything that's biodegradable, all organic stuff. With probably maybe the exception of the coffee filters. I don't put my coffee grounds in here. I store them in a different container because I have coffee every day I go to work, and you'd be surprised how many coffee grounds you can get. So I use that, and I just sprinkle that on top too every once in a while because I've got so many of them, and they really don't grind up very well. There for a while, this blender here is just an old blender. I don't use it for anything but shredding up this type of stuff. But before I was doing the worm compost, I was grinding up a lot of my stuff, and then I would just take it, throw it out on the lawn so it would have some organic compost out there. Did it all through the winter and then during the summer. But I figured since I got the worms now, I can go ahead and process this. Very simple. I just add a little bit of water and then start throwing in some of the material and get it to like a sludge. I don't want it soupy. I want more of a sludge so that it stays together and doesn't over wet the bedding when it starts to thaw out. So I'm just going to run a little bit through here, pour it in the Dixie cups, and that'll be it. And this can get messy. And I don't overload it the first time. I want to get a little bit of fluid going in there so that it starts to grind up pretty good. Okay, I've ground everything up. You can see it's sort of a black sludge looking stuff, but again, it's just all organic material in there. Like I said, some of the anchovies, peelings. I had some shrimp a couple days, and those are the shrimp casings are in there too. Again, those were boiled, so most of the oil, or all the oil, should probably from the shell should be gone. Some bits of corn that I had. So as you mix it, what I do is I just keep on adding a little water to make sure that it's got something to mix in, because if you just throw all the dry material in there, it's not going to chop up. But don't over add it. But if you do, just throw in some more material to get it to a nice thick consistency. FYI, this is messy, so if you're married and your wife doesn't like you making a mess, you might want to look at a different way to do this. So all I do now is just pour it into the cups. You can see it's sort of like a mud. And again, I don't use this blender for anything but this, though it wouldn't really matter, I guess, since it is all organic. It just, you can see it's got a leak though. Someone might complain if you made a margarita in here and they knew what you had in it before. And I haven't experienced, since I just got mine set up. Boy, I can't talk today. Since I just got mine set up, I don't know actually how long one of these will actually last in the worms. So it's just going to be a trial and error. But again, I'm just going to freeze it. And then once they're outside, and then once they're frozen, I'll throw them in a bag, throw them in the freezer, and then take them out when I need them. And what I'm going to do is just rip the paper off so everything's exposed, and then throw the paper right inside the bin, because the worms will use that up too. And getting close to the end. I know it's real exciting stuff, huh? Reminds me of reading military technical manuals. It used to bore me out of my mind. But I got nothing better to do these days. And it's also handy to have a spoon to do this with. Actually sort of mix it up as you're going when you're starting to grind it. And this one has had a couple war wounds to it, so again, it's not going to hurt anything. And again, as you can see, it's messy. So if your better half doesn't want you doing this, you probably either do it outside or feed them the traditional way with just the plain greens and everything. So with that, I said I'll throw this outside, freeze it. When they're frozen, I'll throw them in my refrigerator and start divvying them out. Good eats for the worms. Thanks folks for watching. Until next time.